body itself, our perceiving human body, our perceiving, living, pulsating apparatus. So we take those quotes in, and here's a frame. We'll come back to it. We're going to work with one of the 8 areas per class, emphasizing them and seeing how they all then talk to each other and dance with one another. At the core of it all is movement. And here we've added a couple of additional specificity aspects of movement. There's the cardiovascular activation, bringing blood and nutrients to all the body, receiving all the debris from the cells and circulating them so we can eliminate them, etc. We can also move chi or energy through that, through the blood, through the vessels. Then there's the strengthening, to really calling upon our muscles like we did today, calling them to wake up, to grow, to get strong, to sustain. We need the strength of the muscles, not just for physical activities, but to sustain the impact of infinity itself. The stretching, fluidity, pliability is youth, contraction and tightness is old age. Stretching, we stretched as we moved, as we strengthened, as we pumped. But also self-organization. Self-organization is a very interesting one. How our brain, our biology is built in, hardwired to self-organize through movement, not so much through thinking. Thinking and deductive processes have their great area of usefulness, but they're not so much to condition our biology in its prime state. Movement, as Aaron was guiding us to both connect to the movement itself, the motor aspect, at the same time that we are sensing, feeling the movement, feeling the body as it moves, feeling what's arising in the movement. That's the sensory. And is in our anatomy, just to give you a bit more of a background, the nerves that go to every muscle, every joint, every fascia in the body, those nerves, they are in, if you open the nerve biomechanically and chemically, you see that they have 2 direction pathways. There is information coming from the nerves into the, say, muscle. That's the motor function. And there's information coming from the periphery that we can sense, the sensory. And both go all the way through the spine into the brain, through all the areas of the brain, and they reach the higher end, the cortex. And the parietal cortex, we have both the whole body mapped in the motor pathway, and right next to it, the whole body mapped in the sensory pathway in both sides. So we got like a sensory motor bidirectional circuitry happening constantly, 24/7. We're not even thinking of it. We're constantly sending messages out, receiving messages in. And this is the metaphor for the perception in its completeness that we often, you might have heard in the premises of shamanism of Don Juan, which is we inhabit both areas simultaneously. We are in the right body and the left body at the same time. We are in the motor, in the movement, and in the sensory. We are receiving information directly from infinity. We are sensing as we are moving. That is the beautiful dance. Alignment is that this is happening in a coordinated way, in relationship to gravity, in relationship to air and oxygen. And awareness is we're doing all this and we are in our mind, if anything, in our thoughts, we are present to that, not thinking about another issue that we have in a discussion with our family or whatnot, right? The awareness of what is happening. So that is the full-on scope of what we are looking for. And here are some more quotes to consolidate all these ideas. I was told, Castaneda says, that it all began with the extraordinary sensation of well-being that those shamans experienced when they were in shamanistic states of heightened awareness. They felt such tremendous, enthralling vigor that they struggled to repeat it in their hours of vigil. This is the lore of the oral tradition, how these movements came to be. At first, Don Juan explained to me once, those shamans believed that it was a mood of well-being that heightened awareness created in general. Just being in the state of heightened awareness brought the well-being. Soon, though, they found out that not all the states of shamanistic heightened awareness which they entered produced in them the same sensation of well-being. A more careful scrutiny revealed to them that whenever that sensation of well-being occurred, they had always been engaged in some specific kind of bodily movement. And he then elucidates the true magic of the passes is the fact that they cause crusted down energy to enter again the centers of vitality. Hence, the feeling of well-being and prowess, which is the practitioner's experience. It's about the redeployment of energy that we create and we bring forward in movement with awareness and intention and all these qualities that we just outlined that brings the well-being. And to round up, yeah, go ahead. So movements, right? One of the 8 areas, wheel of life for longevity of the body. If we go to a doctor or you read in the newspapers and so forth. Yeah. Everybody will agree, right, that it's good to move, it's good to exercise, it has benefits for the heart, for the all the cellular function, for detoxification. So there's no question about the biological benefits of movement and exercise.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
There we go.
We'll switch a little sound so we can both talk. Is it great? Is it okay? You can hear well, Tom?
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. You want to mention it?
Yeah. Hold on. Got it. We left to the universe for a moment. Yeah. 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 Here we go. Well, we wanted to the way we met Carlos Castaneda and our training was through movement. This guy was a mover first and then a thinker, even though he wrote so many books and he's known as an anthropologist and philosopher maybe, but our experience with him was we practiced a lot of movement with the purpose of breaking the facade of self-importance, of breaking through this idea and the conditioning of who we are, which is very limiting. And I wanted to share one important story when Miles was talking about awareness. To this class, next class, we will emphasize nutrition for longevity of the body. And with Veronica, today we will start sending you different recipes and things that you can start doing at home, cooking, healthy stuff that will help you with longevity. And at the end of this cycle, at the end of each cycle, many cycles, we have a quilt, we write books in Pathway Heart with affirmations or with prayers or with findings or with songs and poems. This cycle we will do a book of recipes for longevity, all of us together, what things work for you. So we will start today, and thank you, Veronica, had this idea. She's a chef, and maybe she wants to share something in a few. And I love cooking. So because in our training with Castaneda was movement, and then when we came to him asking about ideas like, do I need to cross the third gate of dreaming? Last night I have a dream. And the first question, he would look at us, or whoever was saying that, and said, what did you eat? What did you eat? You know, because he felt that it was kind of bullshit. You know, it was like maybe like a liver being detoxified. Because when we get really to that state of dreaming and crossing gates, there's not so many questions. There's not so much talking. We are being. So the whole point of being energy is for us to experience most in our life being ourselves. No pretending, no trying to live Carlos Castaneda life, no finding Don Juan, but just being ourselves. So I want to share this story connected to food and next class 4. So the first time when I, let's say, enter into the Nahual's, Carlos Castaneda, the Seeds of Asia Mexico world, I was in LA, I was taking a workshop, and he called into one other person, Darien and me, and he said the universe chose us, and well, it's a very long story, but to make it short, he took us to Mexico for the first time because we needed to be introduced to the lineage. We needed to know the lineage and see if the lineage will accept us. Carlos Castaneda acted most of the time only as a chauffeur, as a mediator. He never really imposed himself, his ideas, or anything on us or on anyone. So he was the mediator, so him and Kylie, one of his other students, took us to Mexico. So when we arrived to Mexico City, there was a couple of practitioners from Mexico City that drove us to Tula. We first went to Teotihuacan, and on the way back, we stopped in Tula. And can you imagine being in Tula with Carlos Castaneda? It was really a mind-blowing. It was very intense at the same time. I was very young. I just met this guy. I was trying to figure out my life, feeling very kind of lost, and suddenly being in Tula, in this beautiful place, poetic, with these beautiful people. And after we went to see the Atlantis, and after the whole thing, we went to the plaza in Tula, and we went to his favorite restaurant, a very tiny place where the lady was making the tortillas. And we ate some tacos. And when we got out of there, these other 2 practitioners from Mexico City, there was an ice cream place next to this taco place. And imagine this was already around 5, 6 p.m. at the end of the day. The Nahual, when we got out of the taco place, took us to his favorite bench in Tula, where he sat down with Don Juan to observe the end of the day, the dying. He wanted us